So before we start our speech, me and Nick will be portraying John Maxwell as he tells his speech, and Christina will be analyzing and saying what John Maxwell is.
John Maxwell is, I don't know, you guys might have seen, like, he writes leadership Bibles, and he's basically a personal development speaker. He goes around and he gives speeches on different types of things. And this speech that we'll be saying is a speech he did in '92, and it was on attitude. And he will be saying pretty much John Maxwell. I'll be saying the stories that he said, so we'll both, to be clear.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, today you will learn that your approach to life is determined by the way you think and the attitude that you choose every day. Your attitude is nothing more than an outward expression of an inward feeling. You will also learn that most of the things you're going to accomplish in life, whether it's for God, your family, yourself, or your community, everything is going to be determined by the way you think and your attitude, and the way you see life. Today, John Maxwell will be sharing with you the 5 very important principles about your attitude. Ladies and gentlemen, John Maxwell.
First thing I would like to tell you is that my attitude and your attitude is a choice. We choose our attitudes and we choose the way we think. Now you might be telling yourself, I already knew that. Unfortunately, you didn't know that. The reason I know that you didn't know that is because I constantly hear people talking about the way they approach life, the way they choose their attitude, and the way they respond to people, and the way they talk about their attitude, and I know that they didn't realize that they could choose that attitude. I ran into someone at the office today, and they were in a grouchy mood, and I asked them, what's wrong? And they said, well, I guess I just got out of the wrong side of the bed. I stopped them, and I said, hey, go home, get back in bed, and roll out the other side.
John believes that when we're born, we came into this world with certain conditions that we couldn't choose from. We couldn't choose the name we were given, or where we were going to live, or what side of the tracks we were going to grow up on. We had a lot of conditions that we were born into, and as we grew up, those choices began to turn into, we had a lot of conditions that we were born into, but as we grew up, we began to have a choice. Now you see, when you begin to grow, we begin to choose our attitude. It goes from condition to choice. All of us here have chosen an expression we're going to carry out the day with. Now, some of us have chosen to be sour or critical, but we must realize that it is a choice we made this morning.
So that reminds me of a story about a mother and a daughter who are shopping all day. They're tired, their feet are tired. They go into the last store. On their way out, the mother tells the daughter, did you see that dirty look the salesman gave me? She says, Mom, that salesman didn't give you that dirty look. You had it when you walked in. So what does that say? Her attitude, she chose that attitude to walk in like that, and it didn't affect anything more than negativity. So the next story that reminds me of is a little boy. His name is Jeb, and he grew up in Alabama. His mother would wake him up every morning at 5:30 a.m. to do chores, help her with chores, and to build the fire and help her with more chores. She'd always wake him up and say, today's going to be a great day, Jeb. And one day, she said it, today's going to be a great day, Jeb. He says, no, Mom, today's going to be a terrible day. And she says, well, what do you mean? And the little boy says, well, I'm tired, I'm cold, I just want to go back to sleep. Mom says, well, if you feel that way, go back to sleep. The mother walks out the room, and Jeb is in disbelief. He says to himself, why haven't I thought of this before? He goes back to sleep. 3 hours later, he wakes up, it's warm, he's all cozy. He goes out, smells breakfast. He asks his mom, what's for breakfast? His mom says, well, sweetie, you don't get any breakfast. And he says, well, why? He says, well, this morning, I don't know if you remember, you said today is going to be a terrible day. She says, as your mother, I'm going to make it a terrible day. Off to the room he went. He couldn't play. All he could do was sleep. He sleeps for about 3 more hours. That's all you could do. Everyone's done it. You can't sleep anymore after you slept so long. By the time it's time to go to sleep, you couldn't sleep anymore. So the next morning, 5:30 a.m., his mom walks in the room. Jeb is sitting up on his bed, dressed and ready. He had opened his arm and said, "Today is going to be a great day." He chose his day.
See, the attitude you have today is simply choice. Now, the second principle I want to share with you is that your attitude will determine your approach to life. Now, you might ask, what do you mean when you say your attitude will determine your approach to life? This is what I mean. I'm here to tell you that as you take a journey in life, in that journey, you meet people that walk through life and have difficulties and trials, and yet they have a smile on their face, and other people have the same trials and they don't have a smile on their face, and they're having a horrible time, they're having a horrible way, or a horrible day because they chose to have that approach on life. Now,
For another story, there's a grandma and grandpa who go to see their children, and grandpa has a handlebar mustache. They get there about the time of lunchtime. He eats lunch, he decides to take a little nap. He's laying there, and the grandkids, they couldn't resist temptation. They go in the fridge, grab some Limburger cheese, which smells really bad. They put it on his mustache. So by the time he wakes up, his bedroom smells. Doesn't really think anything of it. Gets up. They got some cookies and milk in the kitchen. He goes in there, he takes a drink of the milk, takes a bite, says, "Wow, this kitchen stinks too." And he tells his wife, "Hey, I'm gonna go outside." He goes outside to get a breath of fresh air. He goes outside and this whole world stinks. And today, there's some people out there who have Limburger cheese in their attitude, if you know what I mean. So we all, with Limburger cheese, they smell and think differently, and their attitude determines their approach on life, just like he said. And for another story, I'll give. You got them filming. Yeah, I'll skip that stuff.
Okay. What he's trying to say in that story is that a lot of people just go out and automatically assume that the world thinks everything is against them and stuff like that. They choose to go out with the wrong attitude. And the thing is, John Maxwell thinks that it's not what happens to you, it's what happens within you that makes a difference with your attitude.
Now, the third principle about attitude is that your attitude will determine your relationship with other people. Now, people don't care how much you know until they know